Hey everybody, it's Jenna. I am back from San Diego Comic-Con. I have no voice, so bear with me, and I am so tired, but so unbelievably grateful. Thank you to every single person who came up and said hi. Thank you to everyone who followed along as I live tweeted panels. Oh my god, I cannot wait to yap about Absolute Green Arrow. And thank you to a certain someone for one of the best moments of my entire life. Hopefully we get to see each other again sooner than later. I promise I will have a spoiler-filled Fantastic Four review and breakdown at some point this week, but I need to see it again, taking notes in my notebook, in IMAX, not in 3D, and not in the middle of a positively crazy weekend. But it is coming, trust me. But in the meantime, I have to talk about Peacemaker. If you told me even 5 years ago that he, or a character like him who has been gleefully obscure for most of their comic tenure, would become the centerpiece of a San Diego Comic-Con, I would not have believed you. The Hall H panel and the Peacefest party afterwards were unbelievable, both in the showmanship that was involved bringing them to life, and in just the genuine excitement from the audience at every single turn. It's so special, and it encapsulates what I love about this very weird and wonderful and constantly evolving world of telling superhero stories. I love the new trailer for season 2, and I just love that the show gets to have such a moment as its own thing, while also riding the high of Superman. Also, the moment when Superman was first mentioned during the panel and John Cena fully led a standing ovation will live in my brain forever. But yeah, I thought I'd break down the trailer today and share some insights that we learned from the panel. I really love how the trailers we've seen so far, and probably the entire season itself, really just hammer home how much of a family the 11th Street kids have become. Even as the job that originally brought them together doesn't exist in the same way, and they've all had to land in whatever place makes sense for them, it's clear that they still love and want to help each other through everything. Personally, that arc definitely hits for me, and in a way that I could not have imagined all the way back when season 1 ended, and I can't wait to see it play out over this season. Also, as someone with horrible hand-eye coordination, economos is me. The Ozzy Osbourne needle drop is just so cosmically perfect, especially since James confirmed, both during the panel and on Threads, that it was chosen long before his passing earlier this month. On the topic of music, James teased during the panel that season 2's soundtrack has a lot more modern bands, and then revealed during Peacefest that Oh Lord by Foxy Shazam is season 2's opening song. I have been listening to it basically on a loop ever since, and I can't wait to see the choreography for it, which apparently involves a dirty dancing lift and Frank Grillo trying his best. The Peace Cycle. It shoots missiles. It looks so gleefully ridiculous. There is no way that it is street legal. I briefly got to see it in person during Peacefest, and it looks awesome. It feels so on brand for a character like Peacemaker to try to copy Batman and brand his gimmick into things like that, and the motorcycle folds in a bit of his characterization from the 2000s, when he ditched his colorful costume in favor of plain clothes, tattoos, and a very gruff demeanor as he mentored Jaime Reyes. I remember, all the way back when Peacemaker was first rumored for the Suicide Squad, thinking that this more modern take on the character would be the only way that audiences would accept him, and I have never in my life been more thankful to be proven wrong. On that note, there's something so endearing about Peacemaker's arc this season, especially now that we have an entirely new context for the DCU that he's even in. Whether he was in the darker universe that we had before, or in this new one with trunk-wearing Superman and 300 years of baked-in metahuman history, him being an assassin with a high kill count and a ridiculous costume makes him stand out, and it makes sense that he wants to be seen as a genuine hero with all of the respect and adoration that that entails. Exploring that through the context of this other dimension that he goes and visits, where his dad and maybe his brother are still alive and adored by the public and flying around on jetpacks, is such an interesting way to physically show that arc. We get a more overt idea of Rick Flag's role, getting revenge for the death of his son. I have a feeling that this fight scene is going to be bonkers, and if we get even one shot or moment paralleling the fight in the Suicide Squad, I will be so happy. And I'm glad that we get to see Flag Jr.'s funeral, both because superhero adaptations have had kind of a bad track record with showing those, and because I've already loved the jokes online wondering if Katana or June Moon are going to show up. We do see part of a dossier about Flag's death and Project Starfish, which raises a lot of questions about the Suicide Squad. James has already said that the events of the Suicide Squad are an imperfect memory, but are not completely canon, which I have a lot of feelings about. I love that movie with every bone in my body, but I also have a feeling that any canon changes we get are for the sake of intentionally adding more things to the DCU story instead of taking things away. I made a whole video on that topic earlier this year. I feel like there have to be payoffs planned somewhere down the line, either through changing the roster of characters who took down Project Starfish or what exactly happened on the mission, and I'm more than willing to make that trade to see parts of that world flourish in this new DCU. It feels kind of similar to Lila's name drop on Rocket's rap sheet in the original Guardians of the Galaxy, which technically had to be retconned in Volume 3 movie, but for the sake of an even better story. I'm very curious to see how that needle is threaded here, especially as a comic fan who is used to years and attempts of varying successes at having your cake and eating it too with canon. Y'all are not ready for this surveilling scene, just based on the clip of it that was shown exclusively at the Hall H panel. To give the tiniest possible spoiler, Tim Meadows' Langston Fleury reveals that he has bird blindness and can't tell eagerly apart from any other bird, and it only gets more ridiculous from there. We finally get scenes and dialogue from my girl Sasha Bordeaux, who I have been waiting to talk to you guys about. Created by Greg Rucka and Sean Martinbrough in 2000's Detective Comics number 751, Sasha is a former Secret Service agent who is hired as Bruce Wayne's bodyguard, something that he does not want for obvious Batman-related reasons. Of course, she finds out that he's Batman anyway, and he reluctantly trains her to become a vigilante, all while she develops romantic feelings for him. This all comes to a head when the two of them are framed for murder and imprisoned in the Bruce Wayne fugitive arc, and Sasha refuses to give up Bruce's secret identity. Sasha's time in prison changes the course of her life as Checkmate saves her from a near-fatal attack by another inmate and offers to help her fake her death in exchange for her joining their ranks. She becomes a very formidable part of Checkmate, and even briefly dumps Bruce when he confesses his own romantic feelings towards her, and is ultimately a pivotal part of the Infinite Crisis event. She not only helps avenge the very shocking death of Ted Kord, but she accidentally becomes an OMAC cyborg, ultimately delivering the computer virus that shuts down the other OMACs and saves the day. Soon after, in the 1 year later story event, Sasha becomes Checkmate's Black Queen, influencing the organization's missions while also sparking a relationship with fellow team member and everyone's current favorite character, Mr. Terrific. I still cannot believe that that sentence is categorically true. She has faded from the comics a little bit since then, largely because she put herself in a coma during the events of Final Crisis, but she is a character who I adore. I'm so excited to see her introduced in a context that has nothing to do with Bruce whatsoever, although there's apparently a chance that we'll see them interact down the line.
But no, she has nothing to do with that.
Okay, so she has no idea.
Yet.
Oh! Okay.
And I think fans will really fall in love with her energy. I'm not going to talk too much about the Pocket Universe and the dimensional portals because I feel like that conversation will be much more fun to have once we actually get context for them in the episodes. But the door to the Skull Spider dimension is such a perfect fucked up little gag, especially in this larger universe. It might not have comic roots, but I fully expect that at least one of these doors, if not several, will lead to something that does. Also, in the clip that we saw during the panel, Chris mentions that he sometimes lets Eagly fly around the Pocket Universe when it gets cold outside, which is just such a sweet little detail to me. As I said during my first teaser video, I've really been looking forward to Harcourt's arc dealing with her toxic masculinity. It was revealed during the panel that she's been blacklisted by Waller and Argus after the events of the season 1 finale and is struggling to figure out who she is without her work. Girl, I understand. A second clip that they showed during the Hall H panel shows her working out those emotions during this fight scene, after she gets catcalled at a bar and proceeds to fight the men in some very creative ways. I just have a feeling that I'm going to enjoy her arc a lot. The bit about the other Peacemaker's pattern shirts is great.
What? Because the pattern's so complicated, you idiot!
And I've been curious ever since the first trailer how the show is going to differentiate between the two Peacemakers, especially when ours is wearing the other's clothes. Is the one just going to straight up die? Are we going to just revel in being confused? I'm excited to find out either way. And we end on a great joke with Vigilante's mom, who actually hasn't appeared in the mainline comics at all, despite both of her sons becoming superheroes. This trailer is just so much fun, both in a packed Hall H crowd and rewatching it back at home. I also love how little we still know about this season, especially in the larger DCU of it all, and whatever cameos may or may not be included with that. I have a feeling that things are going to get so wild, and I cannot wait. What do you think of the new trailer for Peacemaker Season 2? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you haven't already done so. Merch is available at the link in the description, and I may or may not have added a new merch item inspired by my time at San Diego Comic-Con. As always, you can find me on social media at Hey It's Jenna Lynn. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, go read some comics.